Good afternoon, Stand Up for Chico. We are here at Tres Hombres, a downtown staple, with Mr. Rich Ober, who's running for Chico City Council in District 7. Welcome, Rich. Thank you for joining us today. It's an absolutely gorgeous day. We're so lucky, and the air quality is good today, so we lucked out with that too. Tell us why you chose Tres Hombres and what you love about it.
Well, my family and I have lived close to downtown the whole time that we've been here in Chico, 26 years, and I've always loved walking downtown, and both giving our business to downtown businesses, but also just enjoying the beauty and the diversity of downtown Chico. And Tres has always been one of our favorites, and street tacos are fantastic.
They actually are. We've eaten a few. So tell me about your campaign. What led you to run for City Council?
Yeah, well, as I just said, I've lived in Chico for 26 years. All 26 of those years I've lived in what is now District 7, which is where I'm running. And District 7 is South Chico. So it comprises the Chapman neighborhood, Mulberry, Barber, Springfield area on the other side of the freeway, and the East Streets. And I've lived in all of those districts currently in the East Streets. And I've always just felt that South Chico, again, what is now District 7, is historically has been one of the most diverse parts of Chico, and really one of the most disenfranchised and underrepresented parts of Chico. And having lived in this part of town for 26 years, I recognize the need for that part of town to truly be represented by somebody who understands the people, the neighborhoods, the issues that South Chico has faced, as well as the tremendous potential. When we think of the Park Avenue corridor, for example, which is in many ways the heart of both the industrial as well as part of Chico, as well as a tremendous amount of entrepreneurism is happening at that point.
It's like the thoroughfare of the city.
Exactly. So wrapping all of that up, and the things that are at the core of who I am, and the reason that I'm running, is wanting to be and continuing the work that I've done in Chico, championing economic, social, and environmental justice. And when you talk about those things, you have to then bring real policy experience to bear in order to accomplish things like economic justice, given the climate that we're facing right now, or social justice, given what's going on both in our community as well as around the country. So you have to pair a passion and a heart for that kind of service with real experience, so that you kind of understand how to address real change.
Right. So what do you feel in your experience, your past experience, gives you to bring that change?
Yeah, I talk about experience a lot.
No, it's important though. We need experience now more tthan ever.
And that's what we say, experience matters. So I spent 10 years on the Bidwell Park Commission. I'm currently on the Planning Commission. I'm also currently on the Butte County Housing Authority Board of Commissioners. I've served on the Torres Shelter, now the True North Board of Directors for 6 years. My family and I have been serving meals at Torres for over 12 years. So I've been engaged in doing this civic work for well over 20 years.
And I really want to applaud you for the Torres.
Thank you.
Meals and things. I know when myself and my Girl Scouts have volunteered there for meals and things, you have always been so good to give them a shout out and to pat them on the back and to lend a hand, and I can't thank you enough. And I have never seen more appreciative people for a wonderful, warm, sit-down meal. Whether it's mac and cheese or like a full-on spread, they don't care. They're just so thrilled to have a wonderful communal meal.
Exactly.
A wonderful warm communal meal. It's a wonderful experience. It's so rewarding, and I can't say enough for all that you've done.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that. And you're absolutely right. The experience of cooking and serving a meal at the Torres Shelter is life-changing. And I've talked a lot over the years about how I really wish, at the very least, our city leaders would have that experience at least one time, to come into the shelter and to spend an evening cooking and serving a meal to these people who are so appreciative and so human and so real. And that has been truly life-changing for me and my family. And I think it's an experience that ideally everybody in the community at some point would have, because homelessness is a critical issue, and it's something that everybody puts at the top of their list of something that we need to address. And having real experience both with those people as well as with a part of the solution to that Torres and its wraparound services provide, just broadens your understanding both of what the issue and what the solutions to that issue really are. And so I appreciate anybody who's done that real work at Torres or with any other service provider in town. That the work that all of those folks are doing is so critical and is a model for what leadership in Chico needs to be.
I absolutely agree with you. And I always like to say, instead of addressing homelessness, we need to live homelessness to understand homelessness. You know, it's not enough to just address it. We need to understand it.
Exactly.
And addressing is not understanding.
That's exactly right.
Right?
Because what you do, if you say, and you're right, language is really important on these issues. If you say we need to address this problem, then you really have separated yourself from not only the problem, but the reality of what these human beings are experiencing, and the complexity of it. You know, complexity of what service providers are up against, what law enforcement is up against.
Right.
It's a complicated thing, and you need to, and like you said, you need to actually embrace it and immerse yourself in it, to understand it and to work real solutions. I'll give you a really quick example. I know we may not have a lot of time, but as soon as the shelter-in-place order went in place for existing homeless encampments, I and some other volunteers and friends and I immediately started going into those encampments to try to provide whatever kind of service we could. It happened to be mostly delivering water and picking up trash. And we've been doing that for months and months and months now. And that's a part of a way of transferring or translating this idea of addressing a problem. And instead of just saying it's over there and I'm going to talk about it and try to, come up with solutions. Yep, it's what you described. You immerse yourself in it in order to have a bit deeper and broader understanding, so that then when you do have proposed solutions, like additional shelter beds and, campgrounds and things like that, you're speaking from a place where it's a very human experience as opposed to kind of theoretical.
Right, and our unhoused citizens need to know that we care.
Yeah.
That there is a hand and that we care. And that we're here to do something.
Right. I mean, and part of the reason that we should approach it that way is that these are our families, these are our neighbors,
yes.
These are our citizens, these are our residents. These are not, they're not the other. They're us.
Exactly.
And you can learn that by doing direct service, which all the folks with Safe Space and with Chat and with Torres and with Jesus Center and Catalyst, all these people, they can teach us that because we've been doing that work for years and years and years. We understand that. And so I think it's really critical to understand who we're really talking about, because what we're talking about is us. And as soon as you have that understanding, then you can approach whatever you identify as both the problems and the challenges and the solutions from a very different perspective. You can't be removed from it and expect to have success when you're trying to create change.
Exactly. So if you're successful in this election, what do you see as the first big act on City Council?
Yeah, well, I think we're living in this environment, right? And our community is suffering. We've suffered tremendous loss. We've faced some really amazing challenges over the last several years, starting from the Camp Fire to the recent fires to the pandemic. So I think the first thing that we need to do, the first thing we need to do as a council, and that I will work to do, is change the tone of discord. so that we actually start having real conversations, both, with each other on the council, but with the community as well, and have real conversations that are engaged, that are respectful, and that are thoughtful. So it's a matter of changing tone. That won't happen instantly. One person can't make that change by themselves, but that'll be something that I'll be working on. But then there's some very real issues. How we respond to the economic crisis that we're facing. We're sitting downtown right now. We know what that looks like. I want to push hard that we craft our recovery, because we will recover from this. But what that recovery looks like will go a long ways to creating the next kind of version of Chico. We've done things like embraced outdoor dining, as well as outdoor shopping models. I think that's something that we ought to make permanent. We ought to really work hard to make sure.
We have a perfect climate for it.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And so that we continue to have a downtown that thrives.
And how great to expand that to Park Avenue.
Absolutely.
Park Avenue is perfect.
Exactly. And there's a model in Park Avenue that was thriving right before the pandemic
I
hit,
absolutely agree
with
you.
what a lot of people call the distillery district.
Yep.
So that's a model for future growth.
Yep.
And I think that we need to insist, as we craft that recovery, the economic recovery, that it's as green as possible.
Yeah.
So I talk about making sure that every decision we make is a green decision, so that when you talk about things like, economic development or zoning in downtown, or permitting changes that will allow our downtown businesses to thrive, I think that we can make them thrive even more by working hard to make sure that we're embracing green technologies. We're changing our sense of what it means to drive in and out of downtown, and what parking looks like, and all of that kind of stuff. I think we need to invest in better mass transit system, so that it's more effective for the people who really could be taking advantage of it. It's little things like that.
Those aren't little things, though. I mean, we've had our second major fire in this county in 2 years.
Yeah.
These are not little things anymore.
That's right.
This is huge. We've lost our second town in this county within 2 years.
That's exactly
These
right.
aren't little things anymore.
And that's a perfect segue or transition to what I would say is the second thing. So focusing on our economic recovery. The second thing is reinvesting in and understanding the real value of our urban forest and of Bidwell Park. I describe Bidwell Park. No, it's not about raking, but it is about investment. It is about real policy and real money, and that's challenging in this climate, obviously.
Yes.
But we know better maybe than anyone in the country the impacts of climate change and the impacts of not investing. By that I mean in people power and in technology to protect and preserve our urban forest. First of all, it's the heart and lungs of our community, and so we need. It's the jewel, absolutely. But we know that we've seen the impacts of neglect of Bidwell Park. Both in terms of understory growth as well as declining health of the forest, of those fantastic oaks. If we allow that to continue, then and we know what it looks like, what that risk looks like. We're at risk of devastating fire and disease through the forest. And if we allow that to happen, we could actually lose what we all think of as the most precious jewel of Chico, and the threat to the city itself.
Right.
It's as important as that. And because we have the history, we've lost entire towns in our community. We know that can happen. We have to make it a priority to reinvest in our tree maintenance crews, in our ranger crews, so that we actually have
properly trained tree maintenance crews.
Absolutely, right. And I think that the city has done. Our current urban forester is a fantastic resource, but one person can't do the work that it took.
That's why it's truly a full, properly trained crew.
Exactly.
It's not a one-man job.
Right. And we know what the risks. If we don't do that, we know what the risks are. So that's why I feel that it's critically important that we do that. And it feeds back into this idea of green decision making. It's the right thing to do to help in the ways that we as a small community can to address the bigger issues around climate change.
Absolutely. This has been so enlightening.
Well, thank you.
So wonderful. And District 7 needs you. They deserve you. I love the Barber District. And for those of you that don't know, Chico, you need to drive through the Barber District. It has some of the most beautiful historic architecture in town. Really some of the most lovely bungalows and houses. My favorites. Take a drive through the Barber District and through all of District 7, because there are some true little gems scattered through there if you haven't seen them before. And there's a lot of construction and remodeling going on through there, and rebuilds that are really looking good.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of exciting stuff happening in District 7. It's one of my favorite places. Right now.
I'll just say, and of course I'm biased, but
You can be biased, that's okay.
having lived in District 7 for 26 years, I think it's the best part of town.
I do not disagree with you
It's
at all.
spectacular, and I care deeply about it, so I'm excited to represent it.
I do, and I would love to see Park Avenue flourish.
Yes.
Yes, I would
Absolutely.
love that. Yes.
Absolutely. There's so much potential there.
Thank you so much. This was a pleasure.